The financial equation of trust, confidence, and faithfulness. The finance world is painted in numbers, sketched in formulae, and encompassed by rules. These are the walls or boundaries that bring structure to chaos, consistency to randomness, life to thought. Structure. Links, correlations, cause and effect. This is the world of finance. So in business, the shareholders entrust their investment to management. Management must manage on behalf of the shareholders to maximize shareholder wealth. This gives rise to the stewardship principle, the management of something on behalf of another. The shareholders expect management to increase shareholder value ethically, wisely, and to report back to them honestly and truthfully. The church has members. The members return their tithe and offering to the church. The member has an expectation that the funds will arrive at the destination specified by the donor. The member has an expectation that the funds will be managed to enhance the mission of the church. The finance world is painted in numbers, sketched in formulae, and encompassed by rules. So the proposed formula is: trust is equal to confidence is equal to faithfulness. Trust equals confidence equals faithfulness. If A equals B equals C, then A equals C. Therefore, it can be said, trust equals faithfulness. Increased trust increases confidence, increases faithfulness. Therefore, increased trust equals increased faithfulness. How do we then increase trust? How do we meet the expectation of the members that the funds will arrive at their intended destination and that they will be used to enhance the mission of the church? By its very definition, internal controls are the solution to meeting the expectations of the member. The SDA Accounting Manual defines internal control as the process designed and implemented by management and individuals charged with governance to provide reasonable assurance about achievement of the entity's objectives. Those objectives include reliability of financial reporting, effectiveness and efficiency of operations, and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Internal control is designed and implemented to address identified risks that threaten the achievement of those objectives. The key elements of this definition are processes designed and implemented by management and individuals charged with governance. This implies that it is a team effort. Internal control design and implementation are a result of a team effort. In the context of the local church, the entire church board is responsible for designing and implementing internal controls. To provide reasonable assurance about achievement of the entity's objectives, the main goal of the internal controls is to ensure that the funds are used for what they are intended for. This is to enhance the mission of the church. The treasurer, as indicated by the church manual, is a custodian of all church funds. Therefore, we use the acronym treasurer to define the roles in terms of internal controls. T. Theoretical basis. R. Recording, timelines, completeness, accuracy, cutoff, etc. E. Expending. Controls around expenditure, budgeting and mission-based budgeting. A. Accepting. Controls around counting and banking. S. Spirituality. U. Understanding, relationship to the board and pastors, and members' confidentiality. R. reporting to the board and remitting to conference. E. Exercising elements of a financially healthy local church. R. Recognition, a word from the church to thank you. T. Theoretical basis. In the financial world, our world is viewed in terms of rules and frameworks. The theoretical basis addressed the basis on which the internal controls operate. Internal controls have the following functions: to enhance accounting by improving the accuracy of accounting records, improve administration by ensuring that the organization meets its objectives, prevention and detection of errors, then instituting corrective measures. Internal controls can be mandatory or voluntary, discretionary or non-discretionary, manual or automated, general or application control. The mandatory controls are those that must be applied, are not subject to changes in the circumstance, while voluntary controls are based on the judgment of the implementer. Discretionary controls are similar to voluntary controls, while non-discretionary controls are similar to mandatory controls. Manual controls are manual operations, while automated controls are part of an electronic system. General or application controls are for digital systems. They refer to rules written to keep the integrity of the data. R. Recording, timeliness, completeness, accuracy, cutoff. The recording of financial information is a key element for financial management. Without recording, reporting is not possible. The accuracy of the financial reports allows managers to make relevant decisions. Recording also enhances the budgeting process, especially for non-profit organizations that have limited resources. ISA 315 Revised refers to audit assertions, of which some are directly applicable to recording. The assertions are completeness, accuracy, cutoff, and timeliness. The recording of financial transactions needs to be done on a timely basis. To have a financial report of January 2020 in October 2020 is irrelevant, as what would have happened between January and October would have totally changed the picture. Completeness means that all items pertaining to the period are recorded in that period. This is linked to cutoff. Incomplete records give an incorrect status of the organization, which means that decisions are based on incorrect information. Accuracy is an extremely important element. An error made by the local church treasurer affects the entire organization. If a local treasurer records tithe as offering incorrect, the same is recorded by the conference, union, division, and general conference. The whole channel relies on the accuracy of the source, which is the local church treasurer. The system is designed to trace one member's tithe from the source all the way to the general conference. E. Expending. Controls around expenditure. Budgeting and mission-based budgeting. A budget forms the guidance for which the organization is moving. Each organization should have a mission-based budget. The mission should drive the budget, and not the budget driving the mission. Internal controls are designed to ensure that the mission is accomplished. The budget is a tool to ensure that the funds are distributed according to the mission. There are key elements around expenditure control: authorization and legitimacy. Authorization is given by the board, as the treasurer is a servant of the board. Routine expenses are approved by the board through the authorization of the budget. Items outside the budget are authorized by board action. Expenditure files need to be created to prove legitimacy of transactions. All transactions should have a requisition, an invoice, and a proof of payment. The requisition is the request to pay, on which the signatures provide the authorization. The invoice is the evidence of legitimate expenditure. The proof of payment is evidence that the transaction actually took place. A. Accepting. Controls around counting and banking. The opening of a container to ensure that no water is lost as it flows into the container is just as essential as the container itself. Controls over expenditure may ensure that the money is kept safe and spent according to funding the mission. Control over receiving of income ensures that the money is not lost before it is recorded. Internal controls around the accepting of income ensure that, in the words of Christ when referring to the fragments collected after feeding the 5,000, nothing is lost. The key elements are the following. Whenever cash is being counted, there must be 2 people present to count. There must be a document to record what was counted. The total amount counted should equal the amount receipted, should equal the amount banked. No expense should be paid from unbanked money. The money should be banked intact. S. Spirituality. Handling of cash and money can be a very big temptation. The temptation is complex, as it is not just the theft of funds, but also the abuse of power. Therefore, it is required of a treasurer to be very close to God. The Bible tells us about Judas, who was in the treasury. His end, as documented in the Bible, resulted in him being lost, so close to being saved, yet so lost. In the very presence of Christ, yet lost. There is a danger of handling holy things, and yet being lost. No wonder Paul says in 1 Corinthians 9:27, New King James Version, "But I discipline my body, and bring it into subjection, lest, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified." U. Understanding relationship to the board and pastors, and members' confidentiality. The church manual indicates that the treasurer is a custodian of all church funds. The treasurer reports to the board and functions under the guidance of the board. The pastor, as the chair of the board, and in the capacity as pastor, has full access to the accounting records. In the direct context of stewardship, the faithfulness level is a spirituality indicator. Therefore, there should be a close working relationship between the pastor and treasurer. This will ensure that the pastor's visitation plan is informed by statistics and addresses the spiritual need. In business, there is a confidentiality clause signed by employees. This is to safeguard the information of a business. In the church, confidentiality protects the reputation of the members. Many lives have been destroyed by a break in confidentiality. Those charged with governance, the board members, should keep all information confidential to protect the individuals and the organization. R. Reporting to the board and remitting to conference. The church manual requires both frequent reports to the board and the regular remitting and reporting to conference. Reporting enhances trust in the system. Reporting is threefold. The treasurer reports to the member by giving a receipt. Receipts are given to members within the same month of the tithe given. It enhances confidence in the members. The treasurer reports to the board by use of a financial report. This report is essential to building trust and confidence and enhanced decision-making. Finally, the treasurer reports to the conference by the remittance report. The trust funds should be deposited at minimum on a monthly basis. Then the report indicating the allocation of the funds sent to the conference. The conference cannot allocate the funds without this report. The important link in the chain is the local treasurer. E. Exercising elements of a financially healthy local church. Financial managers have debated over time as to what constitutes a healthy organization. Some have cited that 6 months' worth of monthly expenses needs to be in the bank. Some have suggested 3 months. Others have complex formulae to determine this. This section is not going to deal with finances from the financial perspective, but is going to deal with finances from the mission perspective. 1. Budget. An organization that has a budget that is mission-based and spends based on the mission is a sign of a healthy local church. 2. Reports to board. Regular reports to board meetings help with the monitoring and evaluation. 3. Internal audit report. The type of the internal audit report helps identify areas of concern with regards to the internal control processes. An organization that implements the recommendations in the internal report is a healthy organization. 4. Report to conference. The report of the conference reflecting a consistent remitting of the trust funds is an indication that the organization is functioning properly. R. Recognition. A word from the church to thank you. The work of a treasurer requires sacrifice, effort, and time. For as long as a church is open, there will be collection of offering. This gives rise to the whole internal control process. We therefore greatly appreciate the efforts of the Treasury team in the whole world. It's not in vain. It's not in vain. What you do for Jesus Christ is not in vain. Do all you can for Him. He will reward you in the end. What you do for Jesus Christ is not in vain. We'll be rewarded. We'll wear a crown when all our work on earth is done. We'll be rewarded. He'll call us by our name. What you do for Jesus Christ is not in vain. No, it's not in vain. It's not in vain. What you do for Jesus Christ is not in vain. Do all you can for Him. He will reward you in the end. What you do for Jesus Christ is not in vain. We'll be rewarded. We'll wear a crown when all our work on earth is done. We'll be rewarded. He'll call us by our name. What you do for Jesus Christ is not in vain. Don't be discouraged. Keep pressing on, because it's not in vain.